Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Vinny Makes the Hall of Fame Case for ... But I'm not going to be the one to say who Vinny's going to make the Hall of Fame case for, because why should I? I'm Kirk Buckner. I'm not Vinny. Vinny Lospinuso. Who are you making the Hall of Fame case for today?
Well, I just thought that considering, we had the Baseball Hall of Fame announce their lone member inducted by the writers, I thought that it would make sense to celebrate that, considering it's Ortiz, with someone else that has ties to Boston. Sort of.
You kind of bailed on Boston, but anyway.
Yes, I'm going to go. That's why I said sort of. Lou Perini, the owner at the time of the Braves. That time, the Boston Braves become Milwaukee Braves. Now, it's a good thing I made that transition from Boston to Milwaukee, because that move changed the game because of him.
How so?
Well, now, when he acquired the Braves, for $500,000, I know it sounds like a bargain in today's bin, but back then it was expensive.
Well, what year was that, Vin?
That was 1945, if I'm not mistaken.
All right, so
1945, and the Braves did win the pennant. They lost, but they still won it in 48. But then they went through some tough drives. They had bad attendance compared to the Red Sox, who were the more popular team at the time, and they were just a more significant franchise to the culture of the city. Being that second place, being that little brother team, even though the Braves are an older franchise, being that less popular team in the city was not good for them. And, Perini just looking and saying, why do I have to make my team be the younger brother, the little brother in Boston? Why can't my team be the star of the city? Why can't my team be the biggest show in town? So at the same time, 1945, what happened that year? World War II ended. And what happened after World War II, you might ask?
Integration?
Families. What?
Integration?
Well, yes, there was that. But there was another thing, too, that happened in the actual country. People that came back home said, let's try to move outside the main cities of Chicago and New York. And one of the biggest and most prosperous cities that was booming at the time after they were moving out of Chicago was Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Milwaukee was one of the biggest bustling cities at this time, and one of the fastest growing cities at this time. And he was thinking, I can move my team there. And so he worked behind the scenes and got a stadium done there. And sure enough, in 1953, for the first time, MLB changed its complexion. For 50 straight years, not a single team relocated in that entire stretch, until Lou Perini decided to move the Braves from Boston to Milwaukee. Now, that sounds pretty huge, because that was something that was, a team moving another city to a new one in baseball? That never happens. And to a city like Milwaukee, that's huge. All the other owners saw this. And the Braves were so successful in terms of attendance. They often were the league leaders in attendance. And people from all across the nation went to Braves games in Milwaukee in County Stadium, because it was such an experience there. And, they had their all-star game there a couple years later. and it broke attendance records. And the Braves were also really good because they got Hank Aaron soon, and they also won the championship in 1957.
Before you go on, you know what I learned about that? Actually, Evan was telling me about this. Evan Nolan, the co-host of the Hall of Fame show. We were talking about how Tom Yawkey, the Red Sox owner, speaking of Boston, had tryouts for both, just because he felt that he had to, because as you know, the Red Sox were the last team to integrate. Tryouts for both Willie Mays and Hank Aaron, and passed on both of them.
Yeah.
It's almost like in a way you can say the Red Sox kind of got what they deserved for all those extra years of futility, but I don't want to go there, but I just thought that was sort of an interesting sort of thing that because Aaron did start his career with the Braves in Boston. So.
And when it came to also, the Braves itself, they were still pretty successful. They went to the World Series again the year after, and this time they lost to the Yankees. And they tried to go for a third straight time to the World Series, but in the tiebreaker series against the Dodgers, they lost. So for 3 straight years, they were the best in the National League. Now, this attention to the Braves all across the nation led to other cities thinking, you know what? Why do we have to stay where we are? Why can't we move too? And so what happened is that the Philadelphia Athletics decided to move to Kansas City.
Yeah, that one
then,
well.
And then the St. Louis Browns decided to move to
Baltimore
and became the new incarnation of the Orioles. So those are 2 huge events that happened because other owners realized the potential of moving their cities when they were second place teams and become big star in either new or reevaluated markets in Baltimore and Kansas City, because Kansas City soon became the most westernmost team of the MLB until Walter O'Malley also saw this, and knowing the whole stadium situation going on in Brooklyn, decided to move his team and convinced the owner of the Giants at the time to move out of there, because they were trying to get a new stadium too, out of Brooklyn and Manhattan to the new incorporated cities of Major League Baseball in Los Angeles and San Francisco, because they realized the increased population going to the West Coast. And this also spread up the idea of and then of course you saw Washington, D.C., the Senators moved to the Twin Cities and become the Twins. And this brought another idea. Baseball, the MLB is growing in terms of just new cities. But, why do we have to wait for another team to relocate? Why can't we decide to expand? And that is what they did. They decided to expand to, they gave New York another National League team.
Was Perini part of this committee for this though, or is it just something that you think that he was the catalyst for it?
Perini was mostly the catalyst for it, and it was discussed throughout the owners on what they would do. Perini eventually sold the team in 1962. So his time with the Braves was relatively short. It was only for like 17 years, but his impact was very, very massive. You could say somewhat short length, but if it wasn't for him, there would be no growth of the game. Like, the move to Milwaukee was so massive that spurred expansion and relocation, both to Houston. It moved it to, Los Angeles, San Francisco. It moved all across the country, and it's all because of him mostly.
I think you're onto something there. I do think there is a counter that some people would make. And we've seen that recently, like in the NFL, and you and I have talked about that offline personally, like when the Rams moved from St. Louis to Los Angeles. And it's not like St. Louis did not support that team. They very much did. They just they had green pastures and they sought greener ones. So sometimes we do see someone might argue that that's also sort of allowed a springboard for a lot of greed.
It's a business. People need to understand that first and foremost. It's a business. And there's been relocations and expansions that happen throughout. They want to grow the game. And how do you grow the game? Yeah, it may be tough for some people in the area, but the Braves were so significantly less popular than, the Red Sox at the time. And, it's not exactly that they completely, abandoned their roots. I mean, Perini was the one that created the Jimmy Fund, and that's been so synonymous with the Red Sox that he even told, the Red Sox owner at the time, hey, you can keep this. This is yours. We want you to carry on the tradition of this.
Mhm.
So it wasn't really full of greed. It was really for like, this was something
Well,
unprecedented.
no, I didn't say that he was. I just said that some owners said, apparently Jasper the Friendly Corgi, you can follow him on Instagram, might agree with that. Jasper _ the Friendly Corgi. If he's going to interrupt, he's going to get a plug.
Yeah.
There's that car honk, so that's what he's doing. Jasper, you're interrupting my show again. Yes.
It happens.
Yeah.
So you were saying?
I don't know. I'm just saying like that can be sometimes where and I totally get your impact and I agree with everything you just said. I just wonder if someone like from a modern lens, as we see, because a lot of times when we see franchises move now, they're turning their back on very good fan bases. Now, this might not be the case where we're looking at Tampa Bay, for example, in baseball, which has given them a very, very good team, and they just aren't supporting it.
The A's too in Oakland, and
Well, I mean, yeah, but look at that. Who wants to go there in that stadium? I don't blame them. In Oakland,
I will say this as someone who works for people from Oakland that follow it, the stadium isn't
yeah, you
that
do.
good.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, the stadium is not good. I'll be honest there, but
and there is something to it. I mean, like there's something about a stadium atmosphere that does really help. I just went to my first cricket game, and there's only like the one real stadium on this island, and it was really it's really built for cricket. I'm not a cricket guy at all, but I had a lot of fun. And there's when you're going to something it's like a broken down stadium, like the old days of Montreal, and they say, well, we're going to split it with Montreal. Like, you saw the same shit stadium there.
mm-hmm.
I've been there. It's a dump. It was a dump when I went there last time 25 years ago.
It looked a dump when it opened.
That's very true.
You know what it looks like, and I hate to be saying this, it kind of looks like a toilet.
Kind of does.
It legit looks like a toilet because it even has like the backhand of it. But when trying not to get tailed off, like, yeah, that's what he also did. Lou Perini not only was a catalyst for that, if it wasn't for what he decided, not only would expansion expand further south, he would have never gone to Canada.
That's also true.
Understand that Lou Perini is the reason why the Expos and the Blue Jays even existed. Yeah, obviously, he was kind of removed from baseball at that point, but other owners were so impressed. The National League was so impressed that they decided to make it bolder because they wanted to grow the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one could say they spurred on the famous. Yeah, sure. But in retrospect, like nearly 70 years later after the fact, I would say that Perini was correct in that assessment.
Okay.
I mean,
I just wanted to throw devil's advocate there, just why someone
yeah, I mean,
counter that.
one could argue that, he spurred on the Braves fans, but like, you got to look at the bigger picture. Like, I find that a lot of people that oftentimes get very upset with this, it comes with a lot of very selfish attitudes as well, kind of feeling like, they spurred us. We're the ones that matter. But I think Perini as well was thinking of it from the bigger picture and realizing, when he also saw that the Braves were not just very popular with people in Wisconsin, they were popular with people all across the nation. People all across states were literally driving all the way up to Milwaukee to see Braves games. I think he realized that, it is the national pastime for a reason. And why do you have to be a fan of a team that's just in your city when you could be a fan of the team literally anywhere across the country? I think Perini also realized that, knowing when he left the Braves. I think he also realized the potential of really growing it outside. Like, if Lou Perini didn't move the Braves to Milwaukee, how long would it be until a team would finally move?
There's something about that whole national identity. Like, I don't know. Look at the Dallas Cowboys. When they started calling themselves America's team, there's something to that. Ted Turner took that over, that whole mantle in baseball. When he got the Braves, put them on TBS, America's team. Back then, back in those days, Vinny, that was way before you were born. When TBS was the first one of the first cable channels that would run national. You can watch a Braves game. I mean, now it's like it seems so like you could do that anywhere. But if you were living in, let's just say, Vegas, you could watch almost all the Braves games. You couldn't watch almost all the games of anybody else.
My friend Zach, he's from Las Vegas, actually. He's been a Braves fan ever since he was little. Because they were always on TV.
Yeah. And there's something to that. And
never been to Georgia. Like the Braves are the only team to win championships in 3 cities. Just one is impressive. 2 is even more impressive. But 3 cities, you win a championship. Like, it also shows that, the Braves are the longest active continuous franchise. I mean, you can say the Reds a little bit, but they kind of had some spots, like they take on the history of the old Red Stockings. But the Braves have been around for over 150 years.
That will be tied by the Athletics at some point in time.
Another thing too, with when it comes to the Braves, like, this is also very big over there too, because they were in Boston for 80 years. So it was very significant. It was a very, very risky move, moving this team. And
did you, when you researched, did he have to fight really hard to get that done with the other owners?
He thought about it, but he did try pretty hard. He did try pretty hard in the area.
Did he face a lot of obstacles, like from opposition?
Yes, there were some obstacles that I do remember seeing. I do know that he did have to fight a little bit through, try to make sure that the Braves were the team that would go to Milwaukee and that there would be a stadium built in Milwaukee. He really had to push hard for it. And I would say, it paid off. Even when the Braves moved to Atlanta, as soon as the Pilots ditched town, they became the Brewers. And after that happened, they decided to give Seattle another MLB team. Understand that Perini's impact on the game of baseball in that city of Milwaukee in particular is really unprecedented when you really break it down. Because Perini is one of I would consider him one of the most influential figures in the history of Wisconsin sports, in Midwest sports. And I would argue that if it wasn't for Doc Adams, I would have made my paper about Lou Perini because of how significant he was to baseball.
Now, correct me before we close off, just so I want to make sure that I got this right. Perini has never been nominated.
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. All right. Cool. So that was a really good one. You've kind of turned me around on that one. I didn't know as much on this. Well, I didn't know who he was at all.
It's fine. Don't worry. It's fine. There's some people I've given case to that don't even have a Wikipedia article. It's fine.
That's perfectly okay. I don't mind that my young Padawan teaches the old Jedi Master.
Yes, indeed.
It's okay. With that, I'm just going to do a bit of blatant self-promotion. Vinny's going to be part of another group that we're going to be actually filming tonight. It is our football finalist show, and that's where a group of us, we decide that we're the ones who decide who gets into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, a bunch of like-minded individuals, and we're looking forward to that. So we'll be filming that tonight. I guess I got to change my shirt for that, so it looks like it's appearing in a different sort of venue. I wrote a book. Buy my book. If you're a wrestling fan, Chavo Guerrero, instant classic. I helped him write this before he passed away. It's Chavo Sr. So if you're thinking, well, wait, Chavo's alive, no, it's his dad. So there's that. Evan Nolan and I do the weekly show, the weekly Hall of Fame show, where we look at Hall of Fame related news. Brad Nelson, Andrea Tessman, and I, we look at the number one songs and ask, how the hell did this go number one? We're going to be doing Meatloaf tomorrow, the late great Meatloaf, and we're going to see, I would do anything for love, but he won't do that. He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. Benny, he wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do that. Maybe that's why he didn't get love. I don't know.
I mostly know that commercial from the M&M's ad, where it's the red M&M's saying that he didn't want to get eaten by people.
Oh, well, like
By the way, that Billy West voices the red M&M. That's Fry from Futurama. In case anyone's curious.
well, yeah, because the M&Ms apparently they were worried about their diversity. They're different colored candies, and they weren't diverse enough.
You'd be surprised how much risque images you could find online of the green M&M.
Seriously?
Yes, I'm not even joking. And Mars kind of leaned into that many times over the years. Like there were ads in like the late '90s that would show one like a family very worried that their kid had a very strange obsession with the green M&M, having the green M&M look very like clad on his wall.
All right. I'll just say this now. Anyone listening or watching, if you ever got a hard on from a candy, please don't watch my show anymore or anything that I do.
Please never
Yeah.
never like it's absurd to even think about that now. Like
it's absurd to think about it, period. Back then.
Yeah, like it's candy, it's chocolate. You're gonna get crazy over chocolate. Like, oh my God. I mean, honestly, a lot of people online think this is just a PR stunt to evade people from knowing about the lawsuit that Mars is gonna get potentially.
Oh, what law? Oh, okay. I didn't even know about that.
Oh, you didn't hear about the child slave lawsuit?
No.
You did now.
Okay, well, I'll look that up after. And I'll promote one other thing. Chris Bourdain and I, we do This Crap Was on national television, and soon to come up is where we looked at the pilot of a show probably older than, no, maybe not. This might have been the only first time we did something that is younger than you, Vinny. It's the 2003 show, Are You Hot?
Have you done Heil Honey, I'm Home yet?
No, I've actually I mentioned to Chris that existed, and for what people are wondering what the hell that is, that was an actual show that lasted one episode in England. I haven't seen it, but the idea was that Hitler was just some suburban guy, and I think the original title was Heil Hitler, I'm Home.
They always say that, in like the next door neighbors were the Goldsteins
or something like that. Just some
that would do so well today on Adult Swim.
I don't know that you can pull off anything. I haven't watched it. I floated that to him, but then we both sort of agreed, you know what, maybe we just don't want to go there.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it.
It's probably the best, but I've seen some really terrible movies during my time, like The Amazing Bulk and Ratatouille. Like those are some ones you can maybe.
The hell is that? That sounds like porn parodies. The Amazing.
No, they're just rip-off movies. Like, I'll show you after pictures of The Amazing Bulk and Ratatouille.
No, I don't want to see your Amazing Bulk. And on that note,
no, not that one.
Okay. And on that note, this show is closed. Stay safe, everybody, and wherever you are, we hope you're having a great day. Bye for now.
See ya.